Lawns first appeared centuries ago as a method used by British farmers to demonstrate their wealth. By leaving a field ungrazed, they could prove their good fortune by showing that they didn't need to work that field. Gradually, this status symbol has evolved into the modern-day lawn. Today, the greener and more free of weeds a lawn is, the better it reflects on its owner. A lot of money and time goes into keeping weeds out of a lawn. On average, a homeowner spends about $200 a year on lawn care. Since the 1950s, lawn maintenance has escalated into an out-and-out war, a battle to conquer weeds, complete with chemical warfare. It begs the question, why? In an urban environment with so many humans in close proximity, why are we spreading these poisons all over our lawns? Why do we have zero tolerance when it comes to weeds in our yards? Why have we become so obsessed? What's wrong with having a variety of plants in your yard? Milkweed, for example, attracts butterflies and feeds them. So does goldenrod. Only a decade or so ago, people were deliberately planting clover in yards to replenish the nitrogen. And then there's dandelions, the most hunted of weeds. And yet they're so beneficial. Some people hand-pick dandelions to use in salads, others to make wine, and, best of all,
I like dandelions because you could make a witch.
Just a minute. Harry, you scared the life out of me.
Oh, good. Only 3 minutes till halftime.
Harry, get off furniture with that filthy suit on. Were you just outside spraying the lawn with that weed stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, that stuff has skulls and crossbones all over it. I don't want it in my clean house.
In a minute at halftime.
Harry, the kids are out playing on the lawn. For Pete's sake, get up and put that sign out. Hey, you kids out there, get off the grass. Now. I mean it.
Geez, you're getting paranoid in your old age, Doris. Get up off the grass, Billy. I just sprayed that part. Go and play somewhere else.
Just wait here a minute, Billy. I'm just going to talk to your parents.
So how is he, Doc? How's our Billy?
Well, he'll be okay. He's still vomiting. He complains of a headache. Now, Harry, did you follow the directions on that label, or did you maybe put in a little bit more herbicide than it recommended?
Well, maybe I used a bit more than they suggested. But you know, those darn dandelions can be so stubborn that...
Well, I'm sure Billy will be over the worst of it, but I've got to tell you that stuff is poison. The medical profession is still debating on the human side effects of pesticide exposure, but I always say it's best to err on the side of caution when it comes to these type of things, you know, just to be safe. Doris, I don't think Billy's going to suffer any long-term side effects, so don't try to be too concerned.
There are so many questions surrounding pesticides and their use. Too often, people look for quick solutions without thinking about the possible consequences. Perhaps that's because we don't know very much about the products that are on the market. What are pesticides anyway?
The modern pesticides developed during the Second World War. We produced many plants for gas. We produced plants for explosives, and we had to do something with it. So these plants, after the war, got decommissioned, and well, Uniro, for example, was producing some war material, but after the war went into 2,4-D production. On the modern pesticides, the testing has improved tremendously. The old pesticides, which most of the chemicals probably on the market are the old pesticides, there was very little testing initially, and some of the testing actually was fudged by some of the so-called independent laboratories that invented results that were used for registration. If you sprayed your lawn and within 4 or 5 hours you have a heavy rain, you would pick up most of what you sprayed in the municipal sewage treatment plant.
Okay, we bought some very healthy plants at Will and Cullen's, and everything was great. Nice weather, and we got them in, and they were thriving, and the neighbors all got theirs in the same time and bought them from the same place, and theirs were all thriving, and all of a sudden mine developed the most queer-looking leaves, and they were all hard and narrow and queer, and so I thought maybe they had a virus, so I sent a specimen to grounf, and they wrote back and they said that it was typical of herbicide poisoning. I thought it was a virus, and that was the first time it hit me that it was herbicide. So then I started checking. They said to check the neighbors, and I noticed that lawn care people had come about 3 days before, and also people south of us had sprayed, and all my morning glories were dead along the back fence. So there was spray there, but I got it from every direction because it was in the front yard and the backyard and everywhere. So he said, try cutting some of those plants down because maybe the roots are good still and you'll get the new growth. And I cut them down, and they grew right up 6 inches next day. They were all up again. They were up about 2 feet high again in about a matter of a week. So, but then when they got the little blossoms came on them, they were all peculiar looking tomatoes on them. Both the dogs gagged and coughed and gagged and coughed, but then he began to just choke, so I rushed him down to Dr. Seacard's clinic, and Dr. Alan Seacard looked at him and he opened his mouth and he said, my goodness, he's got a big abscess in his throat. And he was horrified, and he felt it was from the sprays. I had the environmental department, and they said that we could ask for compensation, but I don't want compensation. All I want is be able to grow my tomato plants. Money's not going to compensate. I want to have an environment that I can safely put a plant in the ground and see it grow and prosper, because my hobby is plants and dogs, and that's the two things that are being bothered by these things.
Unfortunately, those of us who are unsure of the safety of pesticides are not very well protected. We can decide not to use them on our own lawns and at home, but what about property adjacent to ours? vast majority of municipalities still spray public parks and properties. The law requires that they follow manufacturers' instructions and post a warning sign the day that they spray. But is this sufficient protection?
Well, 2,4-D with acute exposure, short-term one-time exposure, can lead to a variety of effects in different people. It just depends on the person, the degree of the response seen. Some people are very sensitive to it and develop rashes, fevers, nausea, vomiting. And it's been postulated that it may in fact be the spray vehicle that's used to disperse the 2,4-D in a spray form. Other people are totally insensitive to it and don't suffer any effects at all. It's also been shown in some studies to be a genotoxic agent. In about half the studies done on genotoxicity, which includes things like mutation, it's been shown to cause mutagenic effects. Again, at very, very high doses, not at doses that people would be exposed to after walking on a lawn that's been sprayed. On the other hand, it does present a risk.
2 years ago in May when they sprayed, we smelled a smell when we were about 2 blocks away, and we thought, well, now what's that smell? And so when we went up to the school, we saw a sign on the door, and when we read it, it said when the school had been sprayed and what pesticides were sprayed on it.
Well, we read the sign and we went back to the back of the school and we started talking about when they had sprayed, and it's really starting to bug us, so we decided, well, let's do something. So we started a petition.
Well, a lot of people were complaining of headaches and feeling queasy, and they gave us the support because they said we don't like feeling like this. And so we had a lot of teachers and students and even some parents sign.
Well, at first they reacted like, oh, these are just children. They can't do anything about it. And they didn't really say anything, but then we kept going back and back, and we started to bug them. So they kept having meetings and meetings until they decided that we are serious and we're not going to stop until they say something. So they stopped pesticides in the schools for a year.
More and more people are deciding that they don't need to use synthetic pesticides to attain the look that they want in their lawns and gardens. There are organic alternatives that will give them a healthier lawn in the long run.
Reading that book again? Trying to make me feel guiltier than I already do?
Harry, I am not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm just trying to find out what we can do to the lawn instead of using chemical again.
Great. So we have to decide between dandelions and our son. Don't get me wrong. I really regret being responsible for Billy getting so ill last week, and I'm glad that he's better now. But how can we keep our yard from going to seed and looking like we're some squatters living on an abandoned lot?
How long did it take you to spray the yard last week? An hour, maybe 2? And you do that twice a year? In the same amount of time, you can cut out the weeds by hand and garden spade. And you can even get the kids to help you. This book is great because it tells you how you can have a great lawn without using chemical herbicides and fertilizers.
Yeah, but you probably need all sorts of expensive tools or something. Otherwise, why wouldn't everybody be doing it that way already?
There's no magic answers to weed control in organic lawn care. We don't have some wonderful pure chemical which is good for man or beast that we just spray on a lawn that makes weeds go away. It's done by hard work and by establishing a lawn which will resist weeds. Thatch is built up in most of the organic gardening books as sort of the great evil, the great evil of lawns. And it's not nearly as common as you would think, but that's because people confuse that dead grass they see in the spring with thatch. If you do have thatch, you can rent or have a company such as the Turf Surf dethatch the lawn, and we use a tool which spins around and rakes it out, a very stiff raking. It can also be done manually by buying a thatch rake, which is a special kind of rake used for that purpose. What it basically does is cut those links between the plant, allow the water to penetrate into the soil again. The idea of core aerating is to loosen the soil to allow fertilizer and water to reach the roots of the grass plant in a more effective way, and also to oxygenate the soil so that we get good bacterial action. Good bacterial action in the soil also helps break down grass clippings and other dead plant material which forms on the surface and turn it into a natural fertilizer for your lawn. You should water at a time of the day where you're not going to lose all the water from evaporation, and yet not leave the lawn wet overnight. So a good soaking in the late afternoon is the ideal time. And don't water for 15 minutes. Water for 2 or 3 hours in a place. Really soak it to make sure that the water penetrates the soil. You can alleviate a lot of the need for watering by proper cutting. And if you adjust the cutting height, for example, when there's lots of rain in the spring and fall, you can cut fairly close. In the summertime, you should gradually increase so that the lawnmower is at its maximum height setting. The higher the setting, the more grass plants you'll have on top of the surface. And the grass plants are like an iceberg, in that the root development will increase with the size of the plant on the surface. So the larger the roots are during dry seasons, the more likely they are to be able to gather the necessary moisture. The fertilizers that we use come from agricultural products. The one that we're using now is primarily feather meal. The benefit of them is that they don't kill organisms in the soil. They release nitrogen very slowly so that you don't burn with it. You also don't end up with big green lines up and down your lawn where you applied a fertilizer. They don't leach other chemicals out in the soil as they go through it. And they also provide a hospitable environment for things such as earthworms and other beneficial soil organisms.
Well, having your soil analyzed is extremely important, and the reason being that we are determining the level of nutrients that are available to plants. After you've collected your 10 or 15 cores in an area of this size, it's important to collect them in a clean plastic pail and thoroughly mix the samples, crush the cores together as best you can, remove any obvious debris like hunks of grass, obvious pieces of sod, and discard them from the sample.
So the new philosophy has to develop that back to nature, back to what it used to be. And many people say, well, you can't go back. Well, you certainly not go back because your science has advanced so much. But you can go and compare, and you can learn what can be done under the modern system and what shouldn't be done.
Lots of city dwellers these days are deciding to fill their yards with other plants rather than just grass. Alternative ground covers are showing up all over the city. And the latest trend in landscaping is to use plants that are native to the area. Even parks are reflecting this change in attitude, with an increasing number of naturalized areas open for the public to use within city limits. One of the most progressive park spaces in terms of promoting native plant and insect species is Pollution Probe's Ecology Park.
There are 200 to 300 species of plants which were put into the park in the beginning when it was first planted in the middle of the 1980s. Due to dieback and trampling and whatnot, there's fewer now, but there's still an amazing diversity of predominantly native species in the park. And these are species which are native to southern Ontario, to be exact. People can certainly create a miniature version of Ecology Park in their front yard and backyard if they desire, and that's part of the aim for having the park, is to try to encourage people to in fact do that. Conventional gardening uses vast quantities of energy in the forms of water, pesticide, fertilizer, gasoline. 200 million gallons of gasoline are used every year in North America on lawns. The energy inputs, the water inputs, etc., in this type of landscaping are much, much less. And in fact, we suggest to people that they don't, in fact, use chemical pesticides and fertilizers, that they use things like compost for fertilizer, and for pest control, they either do companion planting or something of that nature, some natural way of controlling those types of problems, if they feel they have to control them. So basically, the energy input and the resource input is much, much less than conventional gardening, and in that sense, it would benefit the immediate city atmosphere and the city air if people would make those changes.
By choosing to convert a portion or to redo a whole area of your lawn into a lawn alternative, you open up your garden to creating a much more exciting, dynamic green space, one in which you see the changes throughout the season. You see the leaves appearing on the deciduous shrubs, you see the flowers, the berries, the interesting bark. You see wildlife, birds and butterflies and other insects coming and interacting within your garden. When you compare all of that to a green lawn that is either green or brown throughout the year, there's no comparison. When it comes to lawn alternatives, you don't have to get rid of your whole lawn. In fact, if you're starting out on this, if you're sort of enthusiastic about trying something new, but you're a little ambivalent to go whole hog, so to speak, you might want to start small. Enlarge some of your existing garden beds, whether that's in your front or your back garden, or create an island bed. You can use a garden hose to give you the new shape of the bed, and incorporate plants that maybe you don't already have in your garden. When selecting lawn alternatives, it's very important that you select plants that are well adapted to your soils, climate, precipitation, as well as how much sunlight the plants would receive within your garden. Native plants are at the top of the list when it comes to choosing plants that are well adapted to these kinds of situations. It's just a matter of becoming familiarized with what are the native plants that exist within your particular area where you live. It's a good idea to go for walks within different naturalized parks and find out what are the kinds of wildflowers, trees and shrubs that seem to be tolerating the kinds of conditions that would exist within your own garden setting. And then you don't have to worry. In 3 to 5 years, these plants will become very well established and they won't need any more watering or very little eating or no chemicals. It's the perfect solution to reducing our strain upon the environment.
Hello? Oh, Del. No, I was just out in the backyard helping Harry and the kids. No, it looks great this year, even better than last year. I even found time to put in a perennial flower bed this year. No, not much time at all. And it's really great because it gives Harry and I a chance to spend some time with the kids. Yeah, it's just been excellent.
Doris, you know where that lawn care book is, the one we started with? Jerry's out there now picking my brain, wondering how we got our lawn looking so good without chemicals.
There are lots of good reasons to change from plain lawns to more naturalized spaces. They're low maintenance. They encourage native species of plants, animals, and insects, beneficial to children's understanding and appreciation of nature, and they're so much more interesting than having a lawn with only one kind of grass. Regardless of whether you choose to create a whole new area out of your yard, or keep an organic lawn, or create more garden space, you have choices. There's really no need to use chemical pesticides to get what you want. It's up to you. Right, Faith?
Right.
Right on. Give me a hug.